about it. Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another live stream, and welcome to all your latest Chelsea transfer news. Big up to everyone that is locked in. Hope everyone has washed their hands. Hope everyone's enjoyed playing with their Lego and they're ready to lock into the show, because we have got a lot to bring you. Chelsea have agreed personal terms with Jeremy Jacquet, the Rennes centre-half. The 20-year-old France under-21 international has given his green light to come to Chelsea. Now club-to-club discussions are ongoing. Rennes wants 65 million euros for him. They want a club record sale. They want more than what Manchester City paid for Jeremy Jacquet. So Chelsea apparently aren't prepared to pay that much. We've also got the latest on Kendry Pires. We've got the latest on the fact that Chelsea also might look to bring in a midfielder or an attacker this month as well, if possible. Plus all the latest other news as well with Kendry Pires and various other bits and pieces. So there's always things to go through with Chelsea. But big up to everyone that's locked in. Make sure you're smashing the likes. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you are new round here as well. And before we get into it, before I say hello to some of you lot, let's just a quick reminder, guys. Make sure you check out Jerseys FC Soccer Shop. Link is in the description. Use code BLUEBROTHER for 20% off. Great quality, affordable prices, names, numbers, patches, whatever you want. Retro kits, kits of other clubs, international kits. They're all there. Get to the website, check it out. Jerseys FC Soccer Shop. Link is in the description. Right, that is enough about that. Let's say hello to some of you lot in the chat, and we'll get this show on the road, people. Laughable, a kid with 34 games and what, 40 plus million. I hear it. We need experience at the back line. Yep, I hear it. So another kid who is completely worthless to the squad. We are like an orphanage that takes in everyone. Look, I hear it. I've seen this movie before. The owners will bottle this deal. Let's wait and see. This signing, no doubt, will put us there with Arsenal and City. 100% it will. What else is coming in? With our recent history of buying centre-backs. Yep, tell me about it. It's very tricky. It's very tricky to trust any centre-back signing, given our track record of centre-back signings under this ownership, particularly under these directors. Well, probably because Lawrence Stewart has got knowledge of France, given he worked at Monaco, although his knowledge of France has bagged us to Sassy and Badia Shield. So, yeah, forgive me if I'm slightly pessimistic about the situation. How's the protest? It wasn't, look, we're going to be brutally honest, it wasn't the best. I have to be real. You know, the turnout wasn't amazing. There was a few hundred there, but probably expected more. The message became a bit diluted. There was a lot of younger fans who just kind of used it as a moment to kind of, you know, get on social media. Then there was the people chanting about stuff that wasn't related to the message that was trying to get brought across. So look, it's a start. There's definitely things to improve upon. But yeah, it was probably a disappointment in terms of the expectation to the reality. What's the Lego joke? Basically, there was a piece that came out that one of Rossinia's team building exercises, like a Lego building competition. And yeah, obviously it's quite good banter now. It's quite funny. I'm getting fucking Lego adverts like everywhere on my phone and stuff. It's annoying, but it is funny. And, you know, it will be a great opportunity for the club and Lego to do some sort of collaboration and get like a Lego Stamford Bridge set going. There's a big marketing opportunity there. There's a big marketing opportunity there. Are we linked to any midfielders? We have been linked to the likes of, obviously, Adam Wharton, Kobbie Mainoo, Elliot Anderson. Those won't happen this month. If they're going to happen at all, it will be in the summer. Yes, big up, bro. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. No, he's actually right-footed. He's actually right-footed. But the protest, what I said, wasn't great. You know, I think people expected a lot better. It's a start. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to get the home crowd. There was pockets of it, but because a lot of the home crowd is, people that aren't that fussed about the ownership, are just kind of there for a day out or just for some entertainment at the weekend. There's a lot of tourists, there's a lot of casuals. It's very difficult to get the whole of Stamford Bridge chanting against the ownership. The away end is fine because you've got the so-called hardcore, and they very much all feel the same way. Whereas at home, it's a lot more difficult. That's the reality of the situation. Bro, look, let's talk about this, right? This is nothing to do with the player. He's clearly highly rated. He's clearly got potential. This is not about the player. The frustration lies in the model. We've been burnt so many times with young players, and we just want more proven quality to help the existing talent we've got. It's not about the player. It's about balancing the squad to help us go to the next level. This is not about Jeremy Jacquet. This is about what this signing represents. It's not about the player itself. It's about what the signing represents, and it's about what the signing means in terms of us trying to actually improve as a side, us trying to move forward as a team. And signing a player who might be good in 3-4 years' time is not what we want. It's not what we want. You don't want to be sitting here waiting another 3 years for someone to come into their prime years so that we can maybe challenge for a Premier League title. This is the issue. It's not to do with the player. I don't know enough about Jeremy Jacquet to sit here and say whether he's good or whether he's bad. But a big frustration with the majority of Chelsea fans is this reluctance to go and sign players of proven quality. That's the problem. I mean, look, whether yield is a target or not, I don't know. Look, if you watch the whole match review, I was happy with the 3 points, but there seems to be this idea that you can't critique a performance if you win. We were fortunate to win. That's not an unpopular thing to say. We were fortunate to get the result yesterday. If we'd lost that game 3 or 4-1, I don't think anyone would be here saying it was unfair or that was an unjust result. We rode our luck. Brentford didn't take their opportunities. We took advantage of 2 moments. Sanchez made a couple of very good saves to keep us in the game. And I'm delighted to get the 3 points, and I'm delighted to move up the table and hopefully start a run of decent form. But this idea that you can't critique a performance because you won, I just don't get where that's coming from. No, Mainu absolutely isn't what we need. No, I think the interest is genuine in him. I think the interest in him is genuine. But whether we actually prepared to pay that money, whether we are prepared to do a number of things, I don't really know, to be honest. I don't really know. Let's get to the bottom of the chat. But let's actually get into this chat. Let's get into this because the Jeremy Jacquet stuff has moved pretty quickly. It's moved pretty quickly over the last few days. And Fabrizio Romano saying today that Chelsea have agreed personal terms with Jeremy Jacquet, the clear main target at centre-back. The contract is ready. Players keen on the move. Talks are ongoing with Rennes, who are asking for, a club record sale of around 65 million euros. So we're looking at about 55, 56 million pounds. Chelsea bid currently lower. A mission to France already took place. Now, this is where I'm at with this, right? Is that if this is your guy, if this is the player that you want, whether we as fans agree or disagree, if this is the guy that you've highlighted, if this is the guy that you say is your this is your number one target, right? Then ultimately, you need to do what it takes to get that player then. Whether I think it's the right signing, whether you think it's the right signing, whether anyone thinks it's the right signing or not, if this is your guy and you want him, you're going to have to understand that when you're in a desperate situation and it's January and the club doesn't want to lose one of their best players mid-season, these are all things that push the price up. These are all things that push the price up. Now, is Jeremy Jacquet worth around 65 million euros? No, he's probably not. But the market will dictate that that is a reasonable fee to ask for. And as I said earlier, you know, if you're going to do this deal, just go and do it. You know, let's not waste time. I know that Chelsea don't want to pay this much money. I know they want to try and get away with paying as little as possible. When you're not in a strong negotiating position, like we are, you know, I don't want this to be another situation like we had with Xavi Simons, where we had all this reporting with Xavi Simons, and you know, it was like, and it was saying you want him, etc., saying, you know, there's been contact with him, there's been contact with Leipzig, etc., all this, and then you don't act at all, you don't even do anything, no bid even goes in. For me, if he's your guy, you want him, then you pay the money and you get it done. Or you stop wasting time and you move to the next target. For me, it's that simple. The Mark Gurley situation is very clear. He didn't want to come back to Chelsea. He wasn't interested in coming back to the club. So yeah, we wouldn't. I mean, admittedly, we wouldn't have paid the wages, but maybe if he was open to coming, then he might have accepted less money. But the reality is that he wasn't interested in coming to the club. It's that simple at the end of the day. It is that simple. Mark Gurley was not interested in returning to Chelsea, which is a real shame. But again, you know, we need to move fast. The only reason why we're moving now for Jeremy Jacquet is because in the summer, Chelsea know that their chances of getting him in the summer are very slim, because you know that a Bayern Munich will be interested, a Real Madrid and other clubs who are probably more attractive than Chelsea will be interested. So similar to Enzo Fernandez, where if we'd waited to the summer, there's a high chance we wouldn't have got him. This is the same situation with this particular signing here as well. And I don't know what impact Jacquet will make even when he arrives. Even when he arrives, I don't know what impact he's going to make. I don't know how well he's going to do. I don't know if he's starting quality. But I think there is definite grounds, and I don't think people should be criticised for their opinions of feeling pessimistic about this signing, about signing another centre-back from France, given the track record of signings that we have made at centre-back under this ownership. You know, why would you? But this is the thing, right? You can have elite level potential, but there's no guarantees that you reach that potential. There's no guarantees that you reach that potential. That's the thing, and this is why there's an immense level of frustration, because I understand that there's a level of risk. There's a level of risk to every transfer, right? There's a level of risk to every transfer. However, when you're basing pretty much every signing you make on a player becoming as good as you think a set of data dictates, then more often than not, they're going to be left disappointed. Lenny Yoro is a very good example. Now, I don't know if Lenny Yoro was rated higher than Jacquet or not in France, but Yoro has come over to the Premier League. he's young. This is a bit younger than Jacquet, but he was clearly probably rated a little bit higher if he's got that move earlier. And he's really struggled to adapt. Jacquet going into an unstable environment at Chelsea, going into a team that's struggling, going into a team where he's going to need to make a pretty instant impact, where he's going to need to hit the ground running, where a big sum of money is going to be spent on him. This is what I really dislike about the model at Chelsea, is that the recruitment and the recruitment and squad planning is a major issue. Signing Garnacho and Gittins instead of a centre back was ridiculous. We should have signed Elise when we had the chance. We should have signed Samu or Marodion when we had the opportunity, instead of doing Jorge Mendes a favour and signing Joao Felix. Or you're too incompetent. You know, the whole model is garbage. It's garbage if you want to win stuff with your current team, and it's garbage for good young players that actually join the club, and it's garbage for the fans who have to watch the mess unfold. And I can understand why this gets criticised, because Chelsea are basically hoovering up all these young talents with no intention of really playing them, but to flip them later down the line for bigger money. Chelsea are taking kids out of stable environments, out of environments where they're comfortable, they're thriving, and they're developing. And they throw them into situations that they're nowhere near ready for, and then act surprised when their development suddenly stalls, when they're not developing as much as they thought they would, and whatnot. You know, the mental toll. People don't realise how big the mental toll is on making a big move like this, the pressure of the Premier League and whatnot. You know, the sporting model is crap. It's crap. And that's the reality. And I'm sorry, you know, people talk about Chelsea wanting to challenge for a Premier League title. We are never ever going to challenge for a Premier League title operating the way we are. That's the reality. Okay. We will never challenge or win a Premier League title operating how we currently operate. We will finish top 4, top 5, maybe third in a good year, and we'll win it. And we'll win the odd cup every now and then, because this team is good enough to win a cup. This team is good enough to finish 4th or 5th. But we're not going to challenge for a Premier League title operating like this. We're not going to challenge for a Premier League title operating like this. And there's a lot of evidence there. There's a lot of evidence there that we're not capable. We're 4 years in almost, and we've qualified for the Champions League 1 year out of 3, and it could be 1 year out of 4. Yeah, it is, and I don't understand how anyone can think any differently. I really don't. You know, it's a player hoarding situation. It's a player hoarding situation. Yes, for the amount. If you're happy with that, then that's fine. Look, the trophies were great. Okay, delighted with those. But we're nowhere near challenging for a Premier League title. Nowhere near. If you're happy with just coming 4th and 5th and winning the odd cup, then that's absolutely fine. I'm not going to tell anyone what they should and shouldn't be happy with. But if you're happy with coming 4th or 5th every year, not challenging for the major honours, and getting an odd cup here and there, then that's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. But I want Chelsea to be winning Premier League titles again. I want Chelsea to be even challenging for Premier League titles, being serious contenders in the Champions League, not just winning an odd cup here or there and finishing 4th or 5th most years. That for me is not something that I'm getting behind. not something that I'm getting behind. With the amount of money spent, we should be challenging for a Premier League title. That is that's not even up for debate. For the amount of money spent, at a bare minimum, we should be challenging for the title. Next season, year 4 going into year 5, you have to be challenging for the Premier League title. And I think each and every single one of us knows we are not going to be challenging for a Premier League title next season. Now, I don't expect everyone to agree with me, nor do I want everyone to agree with me, because people should think about how they think. People should, view things how they want to view things. But I've grown up in an era where Chelsea won absolutely everything, where Chelsea would sign the best players, employ the best managers. And this is very different now. And I accept it was never going to carry on the way that it was. But as a Chelsea fan, I don't think it is unfair to sit here and say that this club is a shadow of what it used to be, that it's not right to demand more, to expect for the expenditure on the squad and a number of players signed to at least be challenging for a Premier League title, not in year 4 to be sitting 6th in the Premier League after 21 games. I really don't see how that's unfair. I really don't see how that's unfair. But maybe I'm missing the point. Yeah, he might be, but CFC Gamer, this is the exact problem. This is the exact problem, is that pretty much every player we sign, it's like he might be a top player. Let's wait and see. We haven't got the time to wait and see, because we're getting left behind by Arsenal's, by Man City's, by Liverpool's, even by Aston Villa's this season. We're getting left behind. And this is my thing, right? Is that this is not about Jeremy Jacquet as a player. This is about what this signing once again represents, is that we're signing another player who in the long term might help us to get where we need to get to, but isn't going to help us in the short term achieve what we need to achieve, or achieve what we should be achieving as a football club. It's okay to have a few players where you've got, some players who might develop into top players, and that's absolutely fine. And people saying, oh, yeah, but Real Madrid and Barcelona have got young centre-backs. Yes, but look at what else Real Madrid and Barcelona have got. They've got Bellingham. They've got Mbappe at Madrid. They've got a midfield. They've got, they've got the likes of Camavinga and Tchouaméni in there. Top footballers, top players, proven quality. And then you've got young talents like Hoyson, like Raul Asensio at centre backs. You've got the experience of Militao when he's playing. So you cannot compare Real Madrid and Barcelona with Chelsea. Yes, Barcelona have got young players, but they've got Rafinha, they've got Lewandowski, they've got Araujo at the back. They've got experience. They have top players in there. Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me. And I, more than anything, I want Chelsea to be back challenging for Premier League titles. I want us to be winning major trophies. I want us to be one of the best teams in the league. I don't want us to just be Champions League contenders, just qualifying for the Champions League and we get an odd cup. That's not what this football club is. That's not what this institution is. That's not what this club's been built on over the last 20 years. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but we're 6th in the Premier League. We're 17 or 18 points off the top of the table after 22 games or whatever it is. We've qualified for the Champions League once in the last 3 years. We haven't challenged for the Premier League title once under this ownership, and I also acknowledge that we haven't challenged for the Premier League title under the previous ownership for a number of years. But if you're happy sitting 6th place with the money that we've invested, not challenging for a Premier League title still, then that for me is unacceptable. It's unacceptable with the money spent that we're not challenging for a league title. That's not unfair to say. That isn't unfair to say. I mean, look, I don't know what Jacquet's going to be. I don't know what he's going to be. You know, I hope that he's really good and that he makes a big impact for Chelsea and he makes the team better and he helps us win matches. That's what I hope. However, I won't blame anyone for having these sorts of thoughts because of the evidence we've had in the past, because of our centre-back recruitment under this ownership, because of, you know, the calibre of player we've signed at the back. You know, Lawrence Stewart, we've been to France and we had, you know, and he brought us to Sassy and Badiashile. 2 signings that haven't worked out at all. 2 players that aren't of the standard required. You know, and so, yeah, I don't know what Jacquet's going to be, but I feel sorry for him because he's leaving a stable environment at Rennes and he's coming into what is a bit of a mess at Chelsea. You know, that's the reality, and we're putting players in positions that they're not ready for at this stage of their careers. We're asking a lot. We're asking a lot on. We're asking a lot of a young player. We're asking a lot of a young player. Yeah, I do rate Mosquera, but the difference is, Assad, is that Mosquera has been signed to Arsenal as a squad player, and he's learning from Gabriel's, from Saliba's. He's learning from top quality defenders. Arsenal didn't sign Mosquera to be a regular starter. He's learning from top class defenders. They've got a good crop, a top crop of centre backs. Whereas Jacquet, for us, he's going to come in, if he does come in, and he's going to be expected to start. And he's not learning from any top quality centre backs. The best centre back we've got is the best quality centre backs we've got is Wesley Fofana. Okay, so comparing Mosquera going to Arsenal and Mosquera coming to Chelsea are 2 totally different things because of what he's learning from. Saliba spent 2 years out on loan. Saliba was loaned to Marseille, and I think he was loaned back to St Etienne for a season as well. So Saliba spent 2 years on loan before he even came into the Arsenal first team. Saliba spent 2 years on loan. Chat, keep smashing the like button as well, by the way. It's free. It takes seconds to do. Make sure you smash the like button, run it up, subscribe if you're new around here. All of that good stuff. All of that good stuff. Jeremy Jacquet also is not in the squad for Rennes this afternoon. Not in the Rennes squad. Now, if that is that to do with the Chelsea transfer, potentially, is he ill? Is he injured? I don't know. But Jeremy Jacquet is not in the Rennes squad. It would be or wouldn't be unfair, Slime. Would be or wouldn't be. I think it's perfectly fair to say that he might not be ready for the pressure. I think that's perfectly fair to say. Yeah, bro, I agree with you. I agree with you. And I don't understand why this is such an unpopular view. I really don't get it. I don't understand why that's viewed as so unpopular. You know, I really don't understand why that's such an unpopular viewpoint to have. I don't know. I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say so. Look, for me, look, you always love winning the Champions League, but the Premier League's the one you want to win. The Premier League is the one you want to win. But thing is, though, Fofana's our best defender. Bro, I don't think there's one single person in here who thinks Chelsea are going to win the Premier League next season. I'd take third place next season. I'll take third place next season. No, of course. But Zul, this is the problem though, is that when every transfer is like this, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That doesn't lend itself to building a successful team. You know, you can afford to have a few of those in a team, but you can't afford for pretty much most of the squad to be those sorts of players. Look, again, I haven't slagged off anyone that disagrees with the opinion. I've said every single time, I don't care if someone's got a different opinion to me. I welcome that. I don't criticize people for having a different opinion. I might question people as to why they feel that way, or might not understand why people feel that way, but I'll never criticize someone's right to their opinion. I can disagree with it. I can think someone's opinion is ridiculous, but I will never criticize someone for their opinion. If you think being critical of the look, when you speak about the club, you have to be critical when things aren't going well, and when things do go well and they get things right, then they'll be praised. Right now, more things at Chelsea have been got wrong than have been got right. I don't think I don't think people are going to disagree with that. There's more things have been gotten wrong than have been gotten right. I praise things when things are right, but when things are wrong, I'll be critical. I will criticize, because when you get things wrong, when you work in football, when you're a football club, if you get things wrong, part and parcel of it is criticism. Yeah, I agree to a certain extent. Schlotterbeck would be the one that I'd be going for. Schlotterbeck is probably one of the best centre backs on the market. One of the best centre backs on the market. 100% he is. But clearly, you know, Borussia Dortmund would demand a lot of money. There's no doubt about that. They would demand big money for him. And look, I don't even know if someone like Nico Schlotterbeck is on Chelsea's radar. You hear about the centre-backs that are on the radar. Obviously, Jeremy Jacquet, Jacobo Ramon at Como, and then obviously Marcos Senesi at Bournemouth. Although I feel Senesi is a bit of a red herring thrown in there. You know, 28, 29 in May. It'll be a free transfer at the end of the season. I feel like that's one of those ones that's chucked in there to make it look like Chelsea are kind of still considering older players or more experienced players as such. I hope so. I hope so. But we're not going to know until he gets here. And it's probably going to take at least a couple of years to really know the full extent of that. It's going to take a couple of years to really know the full extent of that. And let's use the Mark Guehi signing as an example, right? You know that Mark Guehi is going to come in and he's going to hit the ground running, and you're pretty much going to get an instant impact. Jacquet is being thrown into the fire. We are asking a lot of these young players who are very inexperienced to come in and do a massive job that the majority of them aren't ready for at this stage in their careers. Some of them, the odd one or two, will be ready for it and will, swim in the deep end. But others will drown. It will take them a bit longer. That's just the reality of the situation that we're in. Yeah, exactly that. It was massive in his development. It was huge. Yeah, the contract on the personal terms are agreed. Look, by the way, no one's saying that Jacquet's not promising. No one's saying he's not promising. But if you look at Arsenal, look at Bayern, look at Madrid, look at the centre backs they've got, look at look at the role that he'd potentially be playing there. He'd be coming in as a squad player in all those teams. Maybe at Bayern he might start, but at Bayern, yes, there's pressure, but it's the Bundesliga. It'll be easier to play him. Pretty much every team Bayern play, they're better than, and there's much less pressure to bed in and whatnot. Madrid, obviously, similar. Yes, there'll be a lot of expectation, a lot of pressure, but coming to Chelsea, he's going to be expected to contribute from day one. Whereas at those other clubs, I don't think there's a situation where he'd be expected to contribute straight away. Oh, is that? Oh, it's literally that. That is literally that reason. Fair. I just saw that he wasn't in the squad. I didn't realize it was literally for that. Didn't realize it was literally for that. Oh, I think the tweet's been deleted anyway. Let me check. Yeah, it's been deleted. Yeah, I think it's been deleted. I mean, I forgot about Kusanov as well. There's look, and by the way, it doesn't mean that every young centre back signing from France is going to be rubbish, but there are two examples at the moment of young defenders that have come over from France and have found it difficult to adapt. Lenny Yoro and Kusanov. Both have had good games, good moments, but both have struggled for the majority of their time in the league so far. That's not ridiculous. That's not a mad thing to say. They have. The evidence is clear. They have struggled. Guys, we're 20 likes away from 100 likes. Make sure you smash the like button and keep subscribing to the channel if you're new around. Let's get us up to 100 likes. We're 20 likes away. So smash the like button, guys. It really helps me out. It boosts the content in the algorithm. So yeah, make sure you do that. Gets more eyes on the club. Oh, sorry, on the. It gets more eyes on the show. So make sure you do run those likes up, people. And another thing as well, by the way, what does this site? It's just the I'm gonna have to go to the bottom of the chat. Yes, hello, mate. Oh, yeah, good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, it was a shaky game yesterday, but we somehow kept the clean sheet, which is great. We got the 3 points, and that's the most important thing. That is the most important thing. Yeah, it's going to take time. The thing is, we haven't got time because there's so many games coming up this month, and just in general over the remainder of the season, we haven't actually got that much time. So he's gonna have to hit the ground running. But let's hope that he can get the results. Where was he last Euro under 21s? I don't know. Was he not in the squad? Was he injured? Was he not picked? Did he decide not to go? I've got no idea. facts. And this is what I'm saying, right? And this is why environment, particularly for young players, is so important. And there's a reason why some young players seamlessly transition to bigger clubs, because the environment is stable. Chelsea is an unstable environment. And the age is not the issue. It's the experience at the end of the day. It's the lack of experience. It's the lack of top level football. It's all those things. It's all those things, chap. It's all those things. Well, I'm really not sure how you've got to that conclusion. I'm really not sure I've got to that conclusion. I've never said he's going to fail. I said we're asking a lot of him. I never said he was going to fail. I really do question how some people come to certain conclusions from things that clearly haven't been said. Well, yeah, obviously, of course, but there's better than our current options, and then there's better than our current options, and then there's better in terms of taking us to another level. We don't know what Jacquet's going to do for us, but I think we can probably assume, given the evidence, that is going to take time. He's unlikely to make an instant impact. It could take him 6 to 12 months to get up to speed. And so let's wait and see. But I wouldn't blame people for feeling pessimistic and unsure about this transfer because of the previous signings that we've made at centre back, because of the previous defenders we've signed from France. I don't think that's an unfair thing to say. And then there's that point as well. What does that mean? Because he's 20 years old, right? Which is fine. But what does that mean for Josh Achimpong? What does that mean for Achimpong? What does that mean for Mamadou Sarr? What does that mean for Ansel Mino? You know, what does it mean for all those? What does it mean for those players? Because if you bring in Jacquet, and look, I think I don't know whether I agree with this or not, right? And I'll be interested to hear your thoughts, chap. But there is a train of thought that you could say, what's the point in spending 45, 50 million pounds on Jacquet when you've got Ansel Mino and Sarr? What did we buy them for? You know, they're the same age as Jacquet, yet we're acting like we need another unproven centre-back. And so if you're going to spend that kind of money, then you should be looking to spend that money on a proven starter, not a gamble. Is that outrageous to say? And the whole argument that people have been making, and the whole argument that I'm sure most of us think, is that we need an experienced centre-back. That's what we've been lacking, experience at centre-half. And so if you're just going to go and sign another 20-year-old, why don't you just use Josh Achimpong more? Or why don't you bring back a Mamadou Sarr or an Ansel Mino? Those are fair points. Those are fair points. So I think that's an absolutely legitimate question. Or both ideally. Both ideally is what we need. We need proven quality at the end of the day, and someone who started 29 games in Liga in their whole career, who could well cost £50 million or more. For me, if you're going to do that, then you may as well recall Anselmino or Sarr, because then you're saying, well, what reasons were Sarr and Anselmino signed for? And you look at it and you think they are purely signed to be flipped with no intention of actually playing a serious role for Chelsea. That's the reality. That's the reality. So I would have questioned that. And yes, supposedly, Chelsea view Jacquet as someone who is strong in the air. He's good at progressing the ball. But again, he's made 28 appearances for Rennes. I'm just not sure that qualifies you being worth upwards of £50 million. Now, if you were, I know Mark Gurhey's gone, but I'll use him as an example. If you were bringing in a Mark Gurhey, if you were signing a Nico Schlotterbeck, if you were signing a Bastoni, for example, if you were signing one of those three players, I'd absolutely get it. Be like, great, fantastic. Proven quality. Everyone knows their proven quality. Everyone knows how good they are. We don't know how good Jeremy Jacquet is. You're adding a fourth centre-back of the same age as three that you've already got. So I'm just a little bit confused about why the club feel they need to sign another unproven centre-back. Why another unproven centre-back is the answer to our problems. That's what I don't get. And yeah, look, they're looking at Jacquet to play that central centre-back role. I hear that, because really, in Colwell's absence, the only one that can do it is Tosin. And we know that Tosin's not of the required quality. Chat, keep smashing the likes. We need 12 more likes to get to 100. Run it up, people. Run it up. And yeah, we needed a centre-back when Maresca was here. And the annoying thing is, why didn't we just do this in the summer? If the money is suddenly here now, the money was clearly there in the summer. The money was clearly there in the summer. So I don't understand why we've wasted 6 months knowing the centre-back options aren't good enough, and now we've kind of panicked in January, where you probably end up paying more. No, they don't. They don't. And that's ultimately what it boils down to, is that the reason why these kinds of players are targeted is because they're on wages that they're prepared to pay. That's why we recruit the way that we do, because all these players don't command huge wages. Anselmino as a 67% duels, one compared to Jacquet's 44% duels. Two different leagues. Look, I get it's two different leagues, but winning duels is winning duels at the end of the day, isn't it? So if those stats are correct, then yeah, that's obviously a little bit of an issue, I would say. Yeah, that's a very, very important result. Very important result. I wasn't expecting that, but then Newcastle are awful away from home. Awful. So yeah, look, that's gone in our favour. Yeah, exactly. So the price wouldn't have changed. So that's why I don't understand why this wasn't looked at being done in the summer. You know, the money was clearly there. This guy was clearly a target. Yeah, look, we know centre backs are going in the summer. We know there's going to be an overhaul of that centre back department, and we know there's definitely going to be centre backs leaving in the summer. We know that 100%. Yield is this window, no chance, absolutely no chance. Yildiz would be a summer thing. I'd be absolutely stunned if Chelsea were able to get Yildiz with less than 2 weeks left of the window. I don't think that's going to be happening. I don't think that's going to be happening, chat. But look, that is a very valid point. It's a very valid point, and one that is hard to argue with. But we know why this is happening, because of resale value. Because they want a load of young defenders. They want them to be rotated to boost their market value. They don't care about winning the big trophies. Getting Champions League football and picking up the odd cup is fine for them, and flipping players. That's the reality, and that's what the evidence shows us. But the idea for the ownership is to develop and sell players. Sarr and Anselmino were bought for a lot less money than Jacquet will be bought for. And they could probably they'll break even or sell Sarr and Anselmino for a profit. Jacquet is probably considered a bigger talent, and so he'll probably stay for longer, and therefore Chelsea will probably get a bigger profit when they come to moving him on. That's the reality of the situation, I think, in my view. You know, we've done it with the wide players. You developed Madueke for 2.5 years. You sold him. You developed Jackson for 2.5 years. You sold him. You then bought in players who were what those players were essentially 2.5 years ago. And you start the same process all over again with a Garnacho, with a Gittins, with a Delap, you know. And then those players will probably be sold. Not all of them, but I imagine two of those three will probably be sold in the next couple of years. You bring in someone else, young and upcoming, not as good as the ones that are left, and then you do the same thing again and again and again. And this is a repetitive pattern. Yeah, when the whole transfer strategy is that, when every single signing, your first thought is not if they can make the team better, but is there resale value, then yes, it is bad. So that's the thing. Yeah, the Jackson situation is there's not space for him now, because obviously the club have moved and signed Emmanuel Omega, so the space is not there. The space is not there. And look, Madueke would have been a useful player for us right now. Would have been a useful player to have. I'm not saying he's been amazing at Arsenal, but he would have. But having Madueke makes our squad better. That's the point that I'm making here. He makes our squad better. And our issues stem from not selling those players, but not replacing them with better ones. That's why we're in the position that we're in, because we replaced the players that left with worse ones. We replaced the players that left with worse ones. And Madueke would be useful. He would be useful to have. You know, whether you rate him or not, whether you like him or not, he's better than Gittins and he's better than Garnacho. That's the reality. I mean, I think Omega's been a bit hit and miss for Strasbourg this season. He's had a few injuries. I know last season he scored 14 goals in Liga, but again, he's going to be another unknown quantity. Quenda's done very, very well in Portugal, but Gyökeres tore it up in Portugal. Much more experienced player, and has really, really struggled. Really, really struggled. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. It is going to be interesting. Yeah, but a lot of young players, unfortunately, have got discipline issues. That's the reality. A lot of young players have got discipline. Excuse me, have got discipline issues, chap. And so that's something that we need to get. That's something that we need to get on board with. And that's something that we need to work on. Something we absolutely need to work on. I don't think Madueke was better than Neto, but Madueke it would have contributed more than Gittins or Garnacho this season. I feel he would have done, but at the end of the day, he's gone, and that's the reality. We don't know, but you know, I would, you know, I wouldn't argue against someone that felt that way. But look, let's hope that whether we need a centre back. If this is the guy, then this is the guy. And we just got to hope that we get the deal done, get him in, and hope that he does well. But it's hard to feel positive about these things because of what's happened in the past and because of what it represents. But of course, you know, the same with Rossinia, the same with every player that comes in. I'll always support them, whether I agree or disagree with the signing, or whether I think the signing is right. The player will be supported. Quenda coming in the summer as well. Again, another player that's got a lot of promise, a lot of potential. So we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, the reality is that a lot of people clearly don't back their chat and aren't that fussed about change. There's a lot of people that are maybe happy with how things are, don't think it's that bad. And then there were people that probably couldn't be bothered to turn up. So that's kind of where we're at with that. You know, that's kind of where we're at. But anyway, moving away from Jeremy Jacquet, I would expect developments on that next week. I would definitely expect developments on that one next week. We will we will see what happens. We will see what happens on the Madueke one. But let's look at let's look at this quickly. So internally at Chelsea, the view is that a new signing needs to be of a caliber that's starting level. there is what is described as cautious optimism that a defender will sign, whether that be Jacquet or another target. And I kind of tweeted this out in terms of there seems to be a big disconnect between what the directors view as starting quality and what most other people view as starting quality. You know, that's the thing, because what most people view as starting quality, there seems to be a big gap between the others. If you get what I mean, you know, going for Jacquet, you know, I think most people would say that Chelsea should be going for someone like Nico Schlotterbeck, for example. And I imagine that he will be at Liverpool next season. I imagine that to be the case. I've not watched loads of Jeremy Jacquet. You know, he's meant to be very highly regarded, very highly rated. And yeah, we'll wait and see. I'm sure we'll find out a lot more about him. I would personally expect this deal to be done, but we don't know. We don't know for certain. But my issue is what they know, what they think is starting quality is there's big question marks over it, because this lot thought Disasi and Badiashile were starting quality. This lot thought Tosin was starting quality. So those are those are my concerns. And ultimately, I want to be looking at signings that, yeah, I think he's suspended. Apparently he's suspended. So I don't think that's some sort of like thing, but I think he's suspended. Someone said. But yeah, look, I think we're in a situation where, for me, I want players to come in that are going to help us win the Premier League, that are going to come in to win the Premier League. Otherwise, it's all just a bit of a waste of time. The aim at Chelsea, I'm sure we can all agree, the aim at Chelsea should be to win the Premier League title every season. That's what the aim should be. The aim shouldn't be a top 4, top 5 battle every season. The problem is, chat, is that the only way the model is going to change is if we consistently miss out on Champions League football. And none of us want Chelsea to be consistently missing out on Champions League football. None of us want that. And so this current approach is enough for us not to regularly miss out on Champions League football. So the current approach will, generally speaking, make Champions League football most years. But it won't be good enough to win the Premier League. And it won't be good enough to win a Champions League. And so for the ownership, regular Champions League football, chat, is enough to increase the value of the club. And that's really what it's about. We didn't. But that's why it's even more important now, is that this way of operating is not getting us to challenging for a Premier League title. That's the whole point, is that it's been way too long. It's been way too long. Look, I support the team. Support the team, go every single week, home and away, support the team, want the team to do well. But there's nothing wrong with saying that this current way of operating is highly unlikely to lead to us challenging or winning a Premier League title. You know, there's ample evidence to show that this way of operating is not going to succeed in terms of winning a Premier League title. I'm not saying that fans don't have the goal of winning the Premier League. But there also needs to be a realization that the chances of winning the Premier League operating this way is not possible. The evidence of the fact that it's never, ever been done before, that evidence is that no team has ever won the Premier League recruiting like we do. No teams won the Premier League recruiting in this way. That's the evidence that it's never been done before. So I would suggest that if something's never been done before in a certain way, then the chances of it being successful are slim to none. Chances of being successful are slim to none. Bro, business, that's a totally different landscape. This is Premier League football. 1992, the Premier League started, and never, ever has it been won that way. We're now 4 years going into 5 years, and we're nowhere near winning a Premier League title. That, for me, would suggest that it is highly unlikely that you were going to win a Premier League title operating this way. Now, if in 5 years' time we win a Premier League title in year 9, then fair enough to a certain extent. No, there's thinking outside the box, and then there's a level of arrogance / delusion that you think that your way's best and you think your way is going to work, despite the fact that it's never, ever worked for any football club before. There's a difference between thinking outside the box and being delusional. That's how I view it. So look, there is an issue in terms of what directors view as starting quality. But I would ask you, Energy Donk, do you believe that this model will bring us a Premier League title? Do you think in the next 3 years, 4 years, let's say next 5 years? This is just a genuine question. Who thinks, chat, let me know, who thinks in the next 5 years that Chelsea will win a Premier League title? In the chat, let me know. Who thinks Chelsea in the next 5 years will win a Premier League title? Just put a yes or no in the chat if you think we're going to win a Premier League in the next 5 years. I just want to see where people's thoughts are at. And I know this is throwing forward and it's impossible to tell because things can change all the time in football. But as things are right now, who thinks that we will win a Premier League title in the next 5 years? A Premier League title before 2030? No, that's fair enough. But based on what though? Based on what? Because I personally don't see it. But I'd like to know what that optimism is based on, winning a Premier League in the next 5 years. Let me run a poll, chat. Let me run a poll. You think we finish third this year? I'd love to have that level of optimism. I'd love to have that level of optimism. I just don't see what we're basing finishing third on and what we're basing. So you think we're going to finish third when we're 9 points behind Aston Villa, have got a game in hand. So we could be 12 points behind Aston Villa and we're going to finish third. We're playing for fourth, fifth, sixth. That's what we're playing for. Let me run this poll. But there's no, we don't make quality signings though. That's the problem though. Is that if there was evidence of quality signings being made to back up the young talent, then we'd be in a better position. But we're not doing a Barcelona, we're not doing a PSG, and we're not doing a Real Madrid. There's been no evidence in the 3 years that they've been here that they're interested in signing top quality players. That's the problem. I would agree with you if that's what we did, but we don't do that, which is why it's very hard to have that thought. Look, if you think it's negative, I call it realism. I think I'm being realistic here. You know, if you think we're going to win a Premier League in the next 5 years, if you think we're going to back up the talent we've got with quality signings, that's absolutely fine. And I'd love to have that same thought. But I can't have that same thought because of the evidence of the previous 3 years going on 4 years that they're not interested in doing that. You know, I'd be stunned if we finished third. I'd be absolutely stunned. But I think people are getting confused between realism and negativity. If something's a negative opinion, it doesn't mean it's negativity. It just means it's realism. I think I'm being realistic in what I'm saying. I'd love to be wrong. I'd love nothing more than to be wrong on a lot of these takes about Chelsea right now. But I just don't see it. Yeah, fifth place is Champions League. Yeah, it is Champions League. Brother, I promise you, I'll send you money. I'll send you money for a pint if we finish third. I will send you. I don't know how many dollars a pint is, but I will send you. I promise, I'll send you money for a pint if we come third in the Premier League, and I'll absolutely do that. Um, a pint is like $8 US. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, no, I absolutely will, and I would. enjoy nothing more than sending that $8 over to you, brother. I would love nothing more than to send that $8 to you at the end of the season. So yeah, I hope that we do finish third. I just don't see it. I think it'll be fourth or fifth is what we're playing for. But I will definitely send that money over, and I won't forget, and I'm sure the chat won't allow me to forget either. So yeah. And look, guys, it is what it is. People are entitled to their opinions, and yeah, I'll be a man of my word, and I will send over the pint money at the end of the season if we do finish third. But yeah, my thing is like what are we doing here in terms of? No, I'm not celebrating third, but right now the position that we're in, third place would be amazing. Third place would be amazing. From where we are right now. But yeah, look, we'll see, chat. We'll see. No, bro, we need more than that. We need more than that because I don't think Penders will be first choice keeper next year. It'll still be Sanchez. I don't think Penders is ready. And then we're looking at next summer. We need a backup for Cole Palmer. We need a quality backup number 10. And we need a midfield player. I think we need more than one centre back. And arguably, we need a goalkeeper. So we still need 4 or 5 players, chat. We still need 4 or 5 players. No, I'm saying that I'd love to be wrong in terms of us not finishing third. No. Again, I'm not sure you've been listening. Not sure you've been listening. Is that I'm not saying that Jeremy Jacquet is not good or might not be good in a few years' time, but the whole point of getting a centre-back is to get someone who's ready to come in and make an instant impact. And signing another 20-year-old is not the answer to solving our defensive issues, in my opinion. And so what's wrong with that? Cool. And when's Quenda played as a number 10? Just out of interest. When's Quenda played as a 10? Can you please tell me when Quenda's played as a 10? Yeah, bro. No, brother. I will definitely send you some. I'll send you the pint money if we finish third. And I won't be hiding. I won't be hiding. People know where to find me. People know where to find me. I'll be sitting here chatting most days. Most days I'll be sitting here chatting. So there'll be no hiding. There'll be no running away. Can you please tell me when Quenda's plays a number 10, please? Apparently Quenda can play back up to Cole Palmer. What league was Quenda playing a number 10 in, please? What league was Quenda playing 10 in? And when's Quenda play as a 10? No, that's fine, brother. No problem. No problem. We can do that. We can do that. People keep smashing the like button as well. Keep smashing the like button. Brother, you're trying to tell me that Quenda plays as a number 10 when he doesn't, and you're telling me about watching players. People keep smashing that like button. We're 117 likes. Let's get this up to 130. dare I say, let's push for 150 if we can. Let's push for 150 if we can, chat. Run it up, run it up. But this is the thing, Prodigy. We're putting too much pressure on young players, and we're putting young players in a position that they shouldn't be in. Oh yeah, shit, that poll. I'd forgotten about the poll. Let me end that poll, and we'll start a new poll. Hold on. What was it again? Will Chelsea win the league in the next 5 years? That was it, wasn't it? Next 5 years. Right, we're up. The poll's up. Right, the poll's on, chat. The poll is on. Oh, we should beat Paphos. We're facing a Paphos side who are in freefall. There's no denying that. We're facing a Paphos side in freefall. So, yeah, I'm absolutely expecting a win. Absolutely expecting a win. But the poll's up, chat, so make sure you get voting. Get voting. And we'll check. I'm going to end the show in about 10 minutes or so, probably. So make sure you check, and we'll check the results at the end. Yeah, facts. The best centre-backs have been Bowley's centre-back signing, which has been Fofana. The other centre-back signings have been pretty trash. Oh. I mean, I want us to, and I'd love to say yes, but I just can't see it. I just can't see it. Nah, but we're at home though. If we were facing a bit of a tricky trip to Cyprus, then I might think a little bit differently. I might think a little bit differently if we were facing a tricky trip to Cyprus, but the fact is we're not. So, but bro, this is always the case. Every window that finishes, it's like, oh, we're not that many signings away. We're not that many signings away. Yeah, but those have both been away from home, though. No, he's not. And this is the thing, right? And this is the thing. Like, long term, I don't know if Bowley's the right guy, but short term, Bowley would be much better than what we've currently got, because this is someone that actually knows about sports teams, has been part-owned sports teams before. And he actually cares about the fans, and he would take a step back. He'd appoint a top-level sporting director, and a transfer strategy wouldn't be wildly different, but it would be focused on adding some top names to the young talent. Bro, David Luiz sticking one top bins 90th minute. You know, we've seen the script. Nah, bro, these baseball contracts are no joke. These baseball contracts are no joke. Yeah, Bowley does not own a lot of Chelsea, just like he doesn't own a lot of the Dodgers, just like he doesn't own a lot of the Lakers. Egbali's the problem because he micromanages everything and he wants to be too hands-on. That's why he's a problem. But yeah, look, starting quality or not starting quality, who knows, to be honest? Who knows? But let's have a look what else is coming through. Look, I'd be stunned if Chelsea did any further business other than a centre back. Hopefully, it's going to be. I imagine it will be Jacquet. It's going to be interesting, chat. Yeah, I don't see us doing much else. But then you wouldn't. But then again, it never surprise you. I'd probably rather have Wharton, but at this point, I'd take either of them. But if I had a choice, I would rather have Wharton. I think Wharton would be the one. I think Wharton would be the one for me. Yeah, but he also didn't have the money. He also simply didn't have the money. Yeah, facts. I would also rather Villa win the league than Arsenal. No, no, no. I don't think so. Colwell's going to probably miss most of the. Colwell will likely miss the whole season, chap. Colwell will likely miss the whole season. That's the reality of the situation. Nah, bro, that was BS. Clearly BS. We obviously don't have to sell before we buy. That was obviously some sort of excuse that was, or PR that was put out to try and cover the fact we didn't sign anyone. No, I haven't. I haven't got round to that yet. I need to do that. I do need to do that. Now, Palace won't lose anyone else, and maybe Mateta goes, but Wharton won't leave in January. I think the only other one that will leave in January is Mateta potentially. So yeah. Right then, chap. What's this poll saying? What's this poll saying? What's this poll saying? Let's have a quick look. Hasn't he been 35 votes? Chat, come on. We need to get more votes in the poll. More votes in the poll, chat. It's pinned to the top of the live chat. Give it a vote. I think he's suspended. That's why. That's why. He's suspended. But obviously, look, the Chelsea move is probably coming. But yeah, look, he's likely going to come. Yeah, so he's back. Yeah, he's banned. He's banned. No, the issue with Sterling is purely the wages situation. Purely the wages situation with Sterling. But hey, it is what it is. I would have loved Mateta. I would have loved Mateta. Mateta would have been a great signing for us. I don't know. I don't know. It's impossible to know. Look, we've lost games like that under Maresca. Sunderland was a prime example. Brighton as well. I don't know. Yeah, of course. But right, chat. I'm going to round this one out. Got things to get on with. No news on George at the moment. No. Chat, I need to round this one out. Big up to everybody who has tuned in. Appreciate each and every single one of you. I will be back tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow with more news and all that. Let's see if there's any more developments on Jeremy Jacquet. But I'll be back tomorrow, chat. Big love to everyone for the support. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday afternoon, evening, just your Sunday in general, wherever you're tuning in from in the world. Big up to everybody. Smash the likes on the way out. Subscribe if you are new round here. Appreciate the support as always. And I'll catch you lot again in another one tomorrow. Up the Chelsea. And I'm out. Peace. What the fuck is going on with this guy? Ban user and delete comments. Big up everyone anyway. Don't know who that was. But he's gone. Big love, people.